Hello, my minions! This is the first video, part 1 of James and the Giant Peach, chapters 1 to 10. So, if you already haven't done so, go ahead and read those chapters and come back. I will ask questions along the way, so answer them in the comments below, or click in the link in the description below to get your own printable worksheet. You will have to give an email, so ask your parents to do that for you. Let's get started! Ba-bam, bam, ba-bam, ba-bam. Ba-bam. Okay, so the first thing to notice about James and the Giant Peach, literally from the first page, is how ridiculous this book is going to be about. From the very first page, James's parents die from the most ridiculous event. A giant escaped rhinoceros eats them. Really? But this is going to be an ongoing theme throughout the book, and it makes the book so much more interesting and fun and magical. So, question number 1. What other absurd things happened from chapter 1 to 10? Leave your answers in the comments below. Ba-bam! Now, continuing on this ridiculous theme, we have the two ants who take on James upon his parents' death. James, who had such a wonderful childhood, is suddenly left alone in this world with the two meanest and ugliest women on Earth. Now, I've always found it quite peculiar how James, who had the most wonderful parents, like the first page describes, could have such mean aunts. I didn't think that was so possible. Even if he had such mean aunts, why were they first one to get him after his parents died? I've always wondered. That was kind of strange. And, Roald Dahl never really explained that. And maybe he's just weird like that. Anyways, that was just something to think about. Now, the author pictures the most crazy and silly and comical descriptions of the ants. It's almost as if they're not even human. Okay, I've always kind of pictured them as witches, which maybe have actually inspired the book Witches, which was written many, many years later. But what's interesting here is that what the narrator describes the ants, which is almost non-human people, crazy fat, crazy thin people, and what they think of themselves is actually quite different. Okay, and one of the chapters from 1 to 10, I won't tell you where, describes how the ants think of their own appearances. Now, here's the second thing that we're going to think about here. Delusion is a word which means something that is believed to be true or real, but it actually isn't. Okay, so for example, it would be a delusion to think that you are a child if you are 30 years old. That is just factually not true, and you would be delusional to think so. Now, question number 2. How do the ants describe their own appearances, right? And how is that different from what the narrator describes them as? And how is this an example of delusion? Leave your questions as number 2 below. Ba-bam! Next, we have the strange man who comes to James with these green magic crystals. Immediately, James is terrified by this man, and in the book, he is described as too terrified to move. Which is probably because at this point, James is scared of every adult. Which is not surprising considering he has ants that have been torturing him for years. This is going to be our third question. Even though James is terrified of the man, he does exactly as he tells him to do. I mean, stranger alert, don't take something from a strange old man and do as he says. Don't take candy from a strange man. So, question 3, why do you think James does this? Why do you think James does exactly as the man tells him to do? Put yourself into James's shoes, whose parents have died in a ridiculous event, and is left on Earth with these two meanest adults who have been torturing him, and suddenly has this possibility of magic on his hands. Why do you think James decides to do this? Leave your questions in the comments below. Ba-bam! Okay, chapter 6 begins with what used to be a barren peach tree. Although it was technically a peach tree, it wasn't actually producing any, peaches. However, one morning, voila, there it is. Peach! A giant peach one, in fact, and it is actually getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Exciting, isn't it? Could you imagine there was a giant peach in your backyard? I mean, I think I'd be excited. Well, James seems to be excited as well. In chapter 7, as he sees this giant tree, he says, "Oh, isn't it beautiful? It's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen." So it seems that James has this natural appreciation for beauty. Okay, he's able to see this giant peach and just see it as it is and just appreciate it. Wow, it's beautiful. But the ants have quite a different reaction to the giant peach. Now, I won't tell you the answer, and this will be our fourth and final question for this video. When the ants see the peach, how do they react? And immediately, what do they want to do with the peach? The two have different approaches.
Ba-bam.
Okay, so that is it for today's video for part 1 of James and the Giant Peach book club. Leave all the answers in the comments below. You can answer all of them, you can answer some of them, you can answer one of them. That is all up to you. Just please make sure you write which number you've answered so I can know what question you've answered. Or click on the link in the description to get the full official worksheet. You can download it, you can print it, you can download, put it on your iPad and write it. It's all up to you. Now, you will have to give an email, so please ask your parents to do that for you. And that is it for today. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I will see you next week with the new part 2 of James and the Giant Peach. Bye-bye.
Ba-bam, bam. Ba-bam, ba-bam. Ba-bam, bam. Ba-bam, ba-bam. Ba-bam, bam. Ba-bam, ba-bam. Ba-bam.